I'm making a video series on books, catalogs, seed catalogs, and journals for gardening. And this is the video where I talk about garden journaling. So let's talk about garden journaling. I find that garden journaling is super important for me. Not only do I kind of have a crappy memory, but I'm not getting any younger, so that memory is only going to decline. So future me needs this gift and this treasure trove of information, in that I want to know what the heck I did last year, next year. I want to know what steps I took, when I took them, and what I planted, what I didn't plant, what died, and what survived. So that's what this video is all about. It's going to be about how to keep a garden journal, why you should keep a garden journal, and kind of what type of journals maybe you could use and what kinds I use. So first things first, why should you keep a garden journal? Well, we kind of already hinted on that, and it was the memory issue. If you're like me and you forget sometimes where you planted something and you don't really have, I never have enough plant tags. I never have enough plant tags that I create, because I don't trust my plant tags in the garden with the squirrels, the plant tags that come from the store or wherever I bought the plant. I always keep those in my house so I can look at them later and so I can read the plant tag if I need to. I don't keep them in the ground because I know the squirrels are going to dig them out and they're just going to drop off the face of the planet. So I keep those in the house. And instead, sometimes I try to make my own plant markers out of popsicle sticks and pencils. So you use the pencil to write on the popsicle stick. And yes, it works. It actually works. Permanent marker does not work. Permanent marker fades in the sun. And I have a very hot, full sun garden. So anyway, since I run out of popsicle sticks pretty much all the time and never have enough, a lot of times I plant things, especially seeds, and I don't know what I planted there. So a garden journal comes in handy for that. It really helps a lot, okay? So let's talk about my garden journal. This is my current garden journal, The Girl That Is Upset. This is an artwork that I made for my house. It was actually using a reference from, I don't remember, I think it was Pexels. Anyway, that's besides the point. I do art also, but that's beside the point. Anyway, so this is a piece of artwork that I made, and I just created a garden journal with it. I just printed it off my printer, off some glossy paper, and I just stuck it on a manila. I literally stuck it together with a manila envelope. Or not a manila envelope. What is this? This is one of those khaki folders. What do you call it? Manila folder? Okay, please help me. I used a manila folder, and I created a little garden journal. Not that it matters what it looks like. But then I put, this is important, somewhere on the outside or the inside, or preferably both if you can. Like some of these journals you can't really write on the outside. I mean, you could, but it might look funny. Like this is velvety. But if you can write on it, on the outside and inside, that would be preferential in case something happens, it gets messed up on the outside or the inside. You'll have a couple ways to know what year it's from. So here's the side. I like to put it on the spine as well. Garden Journal 2020 to 2021. I started this in fall 2020. And it's been really helpful, but I won't know how helpful it will be until about a year from now when I look back on this and I look at my itinerary. And by itinerary, I mean the dates that I did things in. So, anywho, let's see if I can find an interesting spot in this journal. Let's see. Alright, I really like this spread right here. So this spread is really good because it shows you how my brain works and why I might use my journal. So I decided one day it would be wise and probably, pretty important if I would section off my garden into specific written sections so that I can reference them either in my journal or when I talk to my husband, like, oh, hey, habitat hedge. What do you want to put in habitat hedge this week? Oh, hey, what about the island bed? What should we do with the island bed? Oh, what about the road hedge? We got to remove some invasives from the road hedge. We've got some Japanese honeysuckle popping up. You know, this kind of thing is extremely helpful. I have used the terms habitat hedge like a million times since I created this little map. So, in your garden journal, first of all, start a garden journal if you haven't. Second of all, create a map of your garden. What do you currently have? What do you want in the future? And section it off and name each section and make it make sense. Like, habitat hedge makes sense to me because I'm trying to create privacy, but I'm also trying to create habitat with shrubs and trees right here along this fence line. And then road hedge makes sense because that is the outside of the fence. And it's basically my curb appeal, so I could have called it curb bed, but I wanted to call it road hedge because I want to create like a hedgerow out of native plants right there and evergreens. And we call this the gate garden because this is a gate. That's where we can park if we need to park in the yard for any reason, or if we need to bring in some rock or mulch or anything. We can just open the fence right here. So we call this we call this gate garden. And then we call this the archway east and west because there's an archway in this garden. And then this is the rain garden. So you can see a theme here. I also have wall garden because that's a retaining wall that surrounds that garden. Call this hidden alley. Kind of sounds like hidden valley. Don't make fun of me. Hidden alley garden, which is not really a garden right now. Right now, this is just where I put my brush. And I just let the wildlife live under it. But anyway, you can see that there are reasons for the names. So, if you create a garden journal, I think one of the most important things you can do, other than documenting what you plant where, is create a map so that you know what to even name the areas that you're planting. I also find it helps because you know, okay, I need to pull weeds in the wall garden today, or I need to pull weeds in the courtyard garden today. You know, it gives you lots of when you're talking to your husband and you're like, I really need help pulling weeds in the habitat hedge, you know, he knows what you're talking about, okay? So anyway, I like to draw maps of the garden. I like to talk about what I planted. I like to talk about where I planted it, what I did. Sometimes I even write down planting ideas. What plants do I want for the future? How big do they get? I like to write down, oh, here's some good plant ideas for planting with Artemisia. Or, oh, plants that like well-drained dry soil. Plants that like full sun. Oh, I've got side garden ideas, which I actually renamed side garden to fern gully, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't really matter. But anyway, you want to have maps of your garden. You want to explain your future ideas. I talk about when I repair my archway, because I have to repair my archway every year because it's a naturalistic archway with twigs and sticks. I talk about when something happens, like this birdhouse I had attached to it kind of messed up and I have to repair it before I can put it back outside. I talk about that. Talk about digging trenches. Just anything that I have to do in the garden, I talk about it in this book, in this journal. And I'm actually, I'm about here. So I'm about to run out of space. So then it's going to be time to decide what journal to start writing in after that, because you're going to run out of room. So you want to always have at least one extra journal handy for when your first original journal runs out of space. So next, I'm probably going to turn to this journal right here. My mom passed away in December, and this was one of her journals. This was also one of her journals, and this was one of her journals. So all three of my other journals I have after this one, my mom actually had, and she just hadn't written in them yet. They're just blank. So I'm going to be using those It'll help me, it'll be something for me to remember her by. I don't need help remembering her. I'm going to always remember her, but you know what I mean. I'll just always be reminded of her, and she actually got me into gardening. My garden obsession kind of started with her just kind of like gently encouraging me to plant some seeds, and she gave me some seeds. And then it just kind of went crazy from there. So, yeah, I miss her a lot. I wish she could see what I was up to now, but she's not here to see it, unfortunately. But I'm going to be turning to one of her journals when I'm done with this one, and I'm going to be starting into this one. I think I decided I'm going to go with this one. Now, when you're choosing a garden journal, decide what you want. I like to have these lines, okay? You don't have to do that, though. Oh, the focus is going wild. You don't have to have lines if you don't want lines. I prefer lines. I just feel like it makes it easier for me to be neat. These lines are kind of like a medium gray, so they're kind of dark. These lines in my older journal are not as dark. They're kind of a green, which I kind of like, because I like to draw those maps, and so sometimes the lines kind of make the maps not, make as much sense. But look how cute this journal is. May your Monday be short, your eyelashes long, and your coffee strong. My mom had such a cute sense of humor. I love that. But yeah, these lines are actually really dark in this one. Sorry about the blur. But yeah, these lines are pretty dark, but it'll be great. And this journal I think is pretty cool because looks like it lays fairly flat, which is nice. My current one doesn't do that because I made it myself. I glued it together myself. This one lays flat, which is pretty cool. So you can just kind of go like this and easily draw your little garden map. Because over time, your garden map should probably change unless you have a pretty established garden. My garden map's going to change a lot. Like, currently, let's see if I can find that map again. Currently, I have this little island bed that has a crepe myrtle in the middle, but eventually, I want to connect this island bed over here to the archway bed and have a seating area in the middle, kind of like nestled in between a bunch of shrubs. So over time, my map's going to change, and your map should change too, unless, like I said, you already have very established beds. So anyway, this one right here just says Goals Journal on it, but it's really cute because it has like rose gold edges of the pages and like a little rose gold closure, but I can't remember what the inside looks like. Let's take a little gander together. So the inside has like these really pretty like teal, I think that's like a teal green color for the lines. Probably kind of hard to pick it up on the camera, but it's actually really pretty. Complements the journal pretty well. But yeah, so I'd say my tips for what to put in your garden journal, other than creating your little garden map and creating sections in your garden that you have names for, is to also document as much of what you do as possible. Document when you take a plant out, document when you put a new plant in, document where it goes, where you move it to. If you transplant a plant, like you had it in habitat hedge, but then next year you move it to archway bed, document all of that. Document the growth if you need to. Maybe the bloom time. I've been documenting the bloom time of my new shrubs because I just bought them this past year and I wanted to know, when does my chokeberry bloom? When does my black cherry tree bloom? These things are really helpful because next year when you have the winter blues and you want to get excited about spring, you'll know what the first thing to bloom in your garden is. And I find that so important. I want to know what the first thing to bloom in my garden is, and I want to know when that's going to happen so I can get excited for spring as early as possible. And I can see that first new growth or the first leaves that leaf out, like whatever the case may be. So anyway, those are some of my tips for writing in your garden journal. If you have any garden journal tips, please put them down below. I'm sure that in the midst of me being excited and talking about all of my different journal ideas, I probably forgot some very important things to put in your garden journal. So if you have any additional tips that I left out, please leave those down below. thank you so much for watching, and I hope you watch the other 2 videos in this series. The other 2 videos are about my favorite gardening books, which talk about native plant garden books. And then my other video that I'm about to record right now is about seed catalogs and things of that nature. So thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye. Okay, that bye kind of sounded like a question, so I'm going to redo that. Bye.